Hello, welcome back to Blender Sushi Live Noding. In this episode, I'm gonna do something special. It's to mark this. There's a new version of animation nodes, and the animation nodes now is slightly more vectorized. So, if normally if you are working with multiple objects, you need to use like a loop kind of setup in animation nodes. Nowadays you can actually do more and more like a vectorization, so you don't need to use loop. You can just simply just operate on multiple objects. And as you already know, with my live noding, I actually talk about Sverchok Add-On and Animation Nodes Add-On. They two are kind of similar, and lots of functions are overlapping, but Sverchok actually works more in the component levels, like polygon face, edges, and vertices, while animation nodes is more like on object level. However, like as both kind of developing, Sverchok also now working more on the object level, and then same thing, animation nodes also can access the component level. And I found that both of them can actually work together in a very powerful kind of way. So I'll show you with the topic of instancing, like making a duplicate of an object. So I'll start with Sverchok first. Let's say we have this default cube, and we want to make like a duplicate. We just simply let's source the objects first in Sverchok, and in Sverchok we use something called objects in. So objects in, and we can source our objects, get selections. See, we have cube. We can have multiple selections. That's also possible if you want to instance many objects. And if you want to make duplicates, we simply can use something like viewer bmesh. And it's pretty simple. You simply pipe in the data of the original objects, and you can see that there's a new object already being created. And I'll save this real quick. This is ANSV instancing. Actually, ANSV demo instancing. Save. And if we want to have like a lot more objects, you already know there are many ways to do this. We simply need to provide something for the matrix transformation here. So if you have like if you use random vector node, for example, and you make like 10, you plug this vector value into the matrix, you're gonna get this multiple objects right away, right, in the random positions. If you want something that's more like a grid, of course you can use something like plane generator, for example. You simply plug this into the matrix as well, and you just space it if you like. You can increase the number of the grid points, and then you can center it. You can do things like that, you know. Very cool, very easily. You can do this in Sverchok. And if you look at in the outliner, you will see our objects being duplicated. Our cube, this is the default cube. Still, it's there. It's untouched. Basically, the original, the master, is always untouched, while the rest of them is called alpha. It's based on this name. You can change it as you like. And by default, as you generate more and more, it will generate a lot more of objects. And they are actually real objects. They are not connected to this guy whatsoever. And let me reduce the number again to 3 by 3. We have 9 objects. And if you want to do things like changing the transformations, you can use matrix in. So here, by default, this when we plug the location of the vertices into matrix, it's automatically understand it. But this is more proper. Okay, if you use that matrix in, this is a more proper way to do it. And let's say you want to randomize the scale, you use vector in, plug into the scale, and you can control the scaling now. And if you use random number generator, plug this in, we have 9 by 9. Let's say we have like 25. We specify here, okay, we have 25, randomize the seed, and we get this very easily. And to be more correct, we actually need to count the length. So use list length, and Sverchok always have this leveling. Sometimes you're not 100% sure what it is, just use the stethoscope and check the value. So list length to find the total number of the objects. Okay, so basically in one sentence, this is the default cube being duplicated or instanced by Sverchok, and you end up with these multiple objects. You can also merge it into a single object if you like. So this is a single object. If you turn off merge, this is multiple objects. You can also group it. So that's kind of nice. Once you group it, you can easily select by using Shift G and then select all within the same group. So that's instancing using Sverchok. There's one thing that you need to know, that if you have like for example like a modifier here, like let's say you have like a wireframe modifier, this guy actually will not be carried over to the instance. So this modifier doesn't stay with this guy. You can of course turn on this post modifier, and then so each and every objects now follow the master, but they are as if the modifier has been applied. It's not like the original objects being duplicated. So let's say if I'm like duplicating this manually, see, the duplicates actually have the modifier. Now with animation nodes, you can actually create duplicates instance with the modifier still intact. So that's very important. I'll save this real quick, and maybe should I delete this? I just hide it. So let's switch to animation nodes and look at the instancing inside animation nodes. Create new node 3, and by default we have this always. These guys can be pretty heavy for the machine, but I'll just gonna leave it on for now. So I'm gonna source it in animation nodes. The way to do this is to use objects. So it doesn't have objects in, so it's slightly different. Since we're gonna be dealing with instancing, we're gonna use object instancer node. So I'm gonna grab this guy. So see, my computer is slowing down. I have to turn off always. Keep this tree on. It's less heavy for the system. So anyway, we have our master objects still with the wireframe modifier apply. So I'm gonna source this, and I will turn on copy full objects and deep copy. This is something special in animation nodes. I wish that Sverchok also have something similar like this. This is gonna give you like duplicates of objects that's actually carry the modifier. Okay, so let's continue. Here we have a grid mesh, similar to plane in Sverchok, basically. Now we want to make a duplication, right? In the past, we need to do something like this. We need to hit W, and then we need to loop through objects. And then now we have this looping stuff going on, and we want to bring in the vector list value, and also we apply it using object transform output, and we simply pipe in the objects, and then also the position, vector position, which is the grid in this case. And it should actually work. Oh, except that I forgot, I need to specify the number of instances depending on the number of vertices, so I just plug that in. And now we have our duplicates, 5 by 5. Yeah, just make it like that. If you see a lot of lines here, don't be surprised. That's actually, if Blender parents objects into another objects, you get this line. And you can hide it simply by turning off the display here, relationship lines, turn it off. Or you can also select the object instancer in animation nodes, tap U, and then hide relationship lines. That's how you hide it. Now it's much cleaner. Let's give it a matcap. Okay, we have 25 objects. It's very similar like Sverchok one, except that for each object here we have this modifier still happening. So each one of the modifier is actually unique. So if you happen to apply like a displace modifier and then give it like a different value, different strength value, you can actually create variations. I'll show you real quick. So this is the original cube, and we have wireframe applied, and then we're gonna use displace modifier. You can play with the string. You see, the string affects the result, and if you update the object instancer in animation nodes, tap U and then reset the source data, you're gonna get the effects happening. And if you have objects with modifier being applied to it, like an armature and things like that, animation nodes actually can work and operate into these modifier attributes. Yeah, so next thing we want to do, let's say we want to set the attributes on this guy. We can simply do that. Just randomize the strings, for example. You can do that using animation nodes. Oh yeah, there's one thing. This is like the latest version of animation nodes, so there's slight different. In the past, you always need to use this loop operations. It's not too bad actually. Loop operation, I got used to it, and it's actually, for beginners, loops is actually very friendly, I think, even though it's a slightly weird concept. But it's basically, it's saying you have a bunch of objects list, which is the instance objects in this case, and then you have a bunch of vector lists, which is like the position, and you put them together and into the loop, and then the loop will actually operate for each object, position them in the locations that you specify here, and that's what the loop is good for. Now, in the latest version of animation nodes, you actually can do vectorization. It's like a similar to Sverchok. So in Sverchok, the loop is actually happening inside it. It's kind of like you just operate on it. So apparently in the latest version of animation nodes, you can do the same. So instead of using loop, instead of hitting tab and then loop through objects again, we don't need that anymore. If you like, you know that you have multiple objects here. It's like a gray scale value, and then this guy is actually black. By default it's black, but once you plug in multiple objects, this guy understands it become gray. Okay, so that means you can operate multiple values. It will accept multiple values and it will work right away, very fast. This is very cool actually. This is one thing I noticed when after I installed the latest animation nodes. This vectorization is very cool. So just remember, whenever you see like a gray, like a transparent, 50% transparent color, that means it can be vectorized. That's actually very interesting. So yeah, so continue on now. If we want to play with the modifier value here, the strength, let's say I want to randomize the strength of the displacement here. We simply use set attribute, object set, actually attribute, not object, attribute, object attribute output. Simply pipe in this multiple objects into this guy, and you can see it changed. It understands that there are multiple values coming in, so we have to turn on multiple values. What do you want to operate on? We want to operate on the strength. Right click, copy data path, paste it into here, and this guy is actually understand. If I turn off the multiple value, it says value has wrong type. This is the old way we work on it. So the string is like a float value. Okay, so we can operate like this, but we have multiple value, right? So we probably need a random number generator, and here again This is a single value. If you want multiple value, turn on this thing. It's become a list. We know that we have 25 objects here. Specify 25. This is specify the minimum and maximum value. We can view the value using the viewer node. So like that. See, it's very interactive. Yeah. So we have 25 value. We can plug into this guy, but it's gonna say it still doesn't work because we need to turn on multiple values because it is indeed like a multiple value. So there you go. Now everything is working, and we have the minimum value, maximum value, everything in control. We can randomize the seed. So yeah, there you go. That's the how animation nodes instancing kind of work in a different way to Sverchok. They're both very interesting actually. I'm gonna plug this get length this tool so that animation nodes know the number of the total objects here. So anyway, I can increase the number like so. So yeah, very quickly we can get something like this. Imagine having to do this manually, or well, if you like really good with Python programming and you understand Blender Python, you know, BPY, you can of course do this very quickly. But the nodes, of course, nodes is like an encapsulation of ideas, like a script or program. You know, this makes everything very visual and very easy to change. If you understand the basic, even just the basic can take you pretty far. So this is how you do it, how you operate it using animation nodes. And with the latest version, of course, this is version 2. It says like 2.0 beta, but it's actually 1.7.5 if you look at it in the preference. Animation nodes 1.7.5. It's like it's been going like it's an ongoing project for animation nodes. I really like this simplicity. Of course, Sverchok is no different. It's actually very powerful as well. See, this is like the cube, and then you have you can generate objects. One thing, like I said, Sverchok doesn't duplicate the instance because it doesn't have nodes for that particular job. But Sverchok, of course, can access the modifier as well if you use something like object ID set. So remember this. This is also very interesting. But anyway, don't want to talk about that for this one. In the next live noding, I might still kind of mix animation nodes and Sverchok together, kind of get more idea. I think one thing in particular that I really like is Sverchok already has a lot of generator nodes, you might notice. So if you go to generators, you see it has line, plane, n-gon, box, sphere, torus, so many. While animation nodes still like an ongoing thing, and it doesn't have as many. It has line, grid, and cylinder. Line, grid, cylinder. Okay. Yeah, line, grid, cylinder. But in Sverchok, let's say you wanna generate like an icosphere, and you're gonna generate it and gonna output it using viewer bmesh, and you will see. So that's an icosphere, right? It has all this bunch of points. If you want to use that inside animation nodes, you can definitely do that. It's very easy. So you basically use the mesh, object mesh data. Just grab this icosphere points from Sverchok and actually turn on modifier. No need to turn on modifier, just plug in the vertex locations into this guy. And you should see it's being instanced right away. Let me check. Okay, this should go in there. There you go. That's yeah, that's how powerful they too are actually. If I update this and update in the frame, you can see it's updating right away. So if I make changes, it's gonna update right away as well with the animation nodes. So they two can definitely work together like this. This is just a very simple example. So yeah, so I guess pretty much it that I want to talk about in this live noding. It's pretty long already. Hopefully you find this useful, and let me know if you have any questions regarding this concept. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.